Just like many other anime protagonists, Izuku Midoriya starts off as a massive underdog, a young boy with the impossible dream of becoming the best hero without superpowers. But thanks to a miraculous encounter, he ends up twisting his faith and is now well on his way to become the greatest hero. Quite the Cinderella story, isn't it? Some will say that Midoriya's success is simply due to good luck, and they wouldn't be wrong. However, as the series goes on, we get to really see what Midoriya is made of. His analytical thinking combined with his mental fortitude make a deadly combination for success. His ability to make tough decisions and to act upon them is definitely something we can all learn from. It is very easy to brush off someone else's success by attributing it to luck, because that way we don't have to hold ourselves accountable for our personal lack of success. But there's a saying that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Once we understand the work and the thought process applied by successful people we admire, we learn that these mindset values are a lot more impactful than we think and are extremely valuable to understand. Which is why today we're going to highlight 3 mindset values that helped Izuku Midoriya on his path to legendary hero status. Now, let's get started. Number 1. Compensate. Just like how Midoriya used strategy and teamwork in his first villain battle to compensate for his lack of control over his quirk. When we hear someone say that a person is compensating for something, the word compensate usually has a derogatory connotation. To compensate means that they are trying to offset a weakness, and no one likes to admit their weakness. But the reality is, no one is perfect, and we all know that already. But even with that knowledge, we are still often very judgmental towards others because it feels good to be in that self-righteous place where we stand on our pedestal and look down on others. But that's obviously not healthy. By putting our focus on bringing others down, we neglect the opportunity to bring ourselves up. So the first thing we can do to avoid this is to not be ashamed of our flaws and to stare at them directly to find ways to improve on them. But that is a daunting task. I would say that there are usually 3 instinctive reactions most people have when dealing with their flaws. First, some lack the self-awareness to even recognize them or choose not to because it's just easier. That way, they don't need to put in the effort to make any changes whatsoever. I'm sure you've met people who think they are perfect and have no flaws, and we can probably all agree that they are off-putting and we do not want to be like them. Others try to hide their flaws by avoiding situations that would bring them to light. If no one else can see them, then they might as well not exist, right? Maybe for trivial flaws, yes, it's somewhat of an acceptable choice to make, but for significant ones, it's probably more trouble for you to hide them than to improve on them. For example, if you have low confidence and are shy in front of other people, you can isolate yourself to avoid social interactions as much as you possibly can, but you would most definitely have a better quality of life if you actually just became more confident. At the bare minimum, you would remove the anxiety of trying to avoid social situations. And that is the 3rd most common reaction, to work on improving your flaws. And that is the greatest and most productive reaction you can have when dealing with a weakness. Working towards becoming the best version of yourself is one of the greatest investments you can make to improve your quality of life. But what if your flaw is out of your control, just like how Midoriya was born quirkless? That is where the 4th option comes in and is our first mindset value. I can always compensate in a related area as long as it moves me towards my goal. If I have a weakness that I can't control, what other areas can I control to improve my chances of success? That is the question you should ask yourself to apply this. This mindset should be applicable in almost all cases, whatever your goal may be. Midoriya's goal was to become a hero, but what makes a great hero? First thing that comes to mind is superpowers, but that is only one factor out of many. Strategy, tenacity, leadership, a desire to help people, and the ability to act upon it. Those are all hero qualities that Midoriya developed further because he was born without superpowers. If he was born with a very strong quirk instead, there's a good chance that he wouldn't have worked as hard to improve in those related areas. His notebook filled with notes about other superheroes is an incredible tool for combat. That knowledge and analytical thinking that he developed has won him many battles. The fact that he was born quirkless was actually the main factor forcing him to compensate with strategy because he had no other choice if he wanted to reach his goal. Your so-called worst flaw can very well end up being a driving force behind your success, like blessings in disguise waiting for you to capitalize on them. So the next time you think that your unchangeable flaws are the worst things to happen to you, think again and start compensating. Here are a few actions you can take to start doing so. First, determine whether your flaw is truly unchangeable or not. Some people think that confidence, for example, is innate, but that's not true. People can become more or less confident with time. Even your physical looks can change. Getting in better shape, getting a different haircut, or wearing more trendy clothing and accessories can make a world of difference. But if it truly feels unchangeable, try to make a list of all the different skills you can realistically improve on, which would still bring you closer to your goal. Just like how Midoriya worked on the different attributes of a great hero, in real life, there are different skills you can excel at to become great at something. In sports, for example, you could become the best passer, the best scorer, or the best defender. All of those skills are valuable to the game and have the potential to bring you closer to your goal. Or at a job, you could be the best technical person, you could be the best speaker, or the best leader. Instead of trying to improve on something that is out of reach, it is better to work on a related area that can still improve your chances of success in that same discipline. Again, ask yourself that question. If I have a weakness that I can't control, what other areas can I control to improve my chances of success? And lastly, be proud of yourself for embracing your flaws and for having that self-awareness. Not everyone is brave enough to admit their flaws, and it isn't an easy task to self-reflect and to make changes. It is an admirable attitude to have, and you should be excited as you have made a decision that will only improve your quality of life with time. So start compensating. Number 2, recognize the power of words. Words are what we use to communicate with each other to convey meanings, actions, and emotions. Some words make us feel better, some make us feel worse. Some words heal while others hinder. No matter how we look at them, words have tremendous ability and power. The words we use to describe our experience actually become our experience. We briefly touched this point in our first value actually. Changing the connotation of the word compensate makes us less judgmental and pushes us to self-reflect on other means to reach our goals. And that's why we should choose our words carefully when we speak, not only to others, but to ourselves. Midoriya recognized this notion when he chose his hero name Deku. Although in Japanese, the term Deku itself has no meaning, Bakugo uses it as an abbreviation of the word Dekunobo, meaning good for nothing, while Ochako uses the word dekiru, which is the Japanese verb to express ability, to be able to do something. We see that the exact same word can have two opposite meanings. This is proof that a choice can be made, and if there's a choice, there's control. This realization is very empowering because it means that we can control how we respond to a negative experience. Just by changing the words we use to describe our emotions and that experience, we change how we feel and how we remember it. By choosing Deku, a previously demeaning term, as his hero name, Midoriya changed the narrative of his story and transformed a negative experience into an empowering one. We can gain a lot by doing the same in our day-to-day life. For example, we can lower the intensity of the words we use to describe a negative experience. We can start off by reflecting on the words we use, such as bad, horrible, or embarrassing. That time of my life was so horrible. What I did was so embarrassing that it still makes me feel bad. But now, let's try to use less intense wording. That time of my life was so unpleasant. What I did was so cringy, and it still makes me feel awkward. While we don't want to misrepresent our experience, we can definitely make it feel lighter. Remember, no one is perfect, so it's normal to think back at those previous mistakes and feel uncomfortable. What you may have deemed acceptable at that time in your life is just not acceptable now. But that's a good thing, because it means that your standards have been raised and you are now a better version of yourself. We are not our mistakes, and our internal habitual vocabulary has a huge impact on how we feel about everything. So choose your words carefully. Number 3, listen to yourself before listening to others. Everyone he knew was telling him to give up on his dream and to be more realistic, including his own mother. And none of them were wrong for doing so. In all of their lives, they probably never saw someone quirkless become a hero. If we never witnessed something happen before our eyes, it is normal to think that it is impossible. And if they were to put themselves in Midoriya's place considering that, they wouldn't be happy chasing an impossible dream. That was their reason for discouraging Midoriya. Simple as that. They were applying their personal experience and values on Midoriya's situation. But by doing so, they ignored an important value from Midoriya. It is more meaningful and purposeful for him to try and fail than to simply not try.
John is right though. It's not like I actually did anything to help today. But at least I tried.
That is why he jumped in to save Bakugo head first, even though he didn't have a plan before doing so. Taking action was more important to him than the result. I believe that sometimes there are no right or wrong answers. Midoriya's mom was discouraging him for reasons she thought were right, but only he knew truly what was meaningful for him, and this applies to all of us as well. We're all unique individuals that find meaning in different things, and while we can try our best to understand each other, we will never be able to live life for someone else. So that's why you should always listen to yourself before listening to others. You can start doing so by always questioning the advice you receive from others and take them with a grain of salt, including this advice. Every single one of us experiences the world through our own colored lens. Some advice may always apply to you, some may just apply in certain situations, and some may never apply to you at all. And that advice from Midoriya's mom and his doctor simply did not apply to him. The fact that we all interpret things differently is reason enough to always take others' opinion with a grain of salt. If you are hungry, someone can give you food, but no one can eat for you. Just like how someone can give you advice, but they can't apply it for you. So always question it first, as you will be the ones with the consequences. You can start off by questioning the value of the advice. Does this advice make sense for my situation? Do I see myself applying it? Have I ever tried this before? And did it work for me? You can also question the suitability of the person giving you the advice. Do they share similar goals as me? Have they accomplished things I wish I had? Obviously, these questions are not absolute and are simply pointers to help you scrutinize the advice before applying it. In other words, take those questions with a grain of salt. In the end, Izuku Midoriya shares a lot of realistic mindset values that we can control and apply in real life, to the point where I would argue that his mindset and attitude are what actually made him successful as a hero, even more so than his good luck. With such powerful mindset values, I truly believe that even without meeting All Might, he still would have found a way to become a hero, similar to how Tony Stark became Iron Man without superpowers. So those were the 3 mindset values I wanted to highlight. There are a lot of unique characters that have something to offer in My Hero Academia, so you can for sure expect more content from me about this series. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something useful. Feel free to let me know in the comments who you would like me to analyze in my next one. And remember that you can learn from anyone and everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.